am responsible for me. And right now, I am not gonna dump another 1,000-year-old complex on you or anybody else. I'm ending it right here. I am Ding Dong Sunshine Future, your friend forever.
Wow, Amethyst, just round of applause. Can we get a round of applause here, everyone? After Amethyst begins to express her feelings to Steven at the pizza restaurant, the episode starts becoming great and only gets more and more amazing. The stuff before that, though, wasn't so hot. Let's just take it from the top. After Garnet split, Ruby left to mull things over, and I chuckled at the choice of words, so I am running away. It makes the situation feel more dramatic and juvenile, which is something Ruby is. She could have simply written she needs some time alone, but instead goes for the immature phrasing for the extra flair. Sapphire becomes devastated, and cue Amethyst. Immediately, I knew from Amethyst's detached and aloof attitude that she was suppressing her thoughts and feelings, although I wasn't sure exactly what those feelings were, and I was pleasantly surprised where the episode went at its climax. However, I was a little upset at how Amethyst was made to be so uncaring about Ruby and Sapphire that she ended up feeling like she was lacking empathy entirely. While she's always been self-absorbed, she's usually not that cold toward the suffering of others in her vicinity. I personally think they should have portrayed Amethyst as frustrated and withdrawn, but not so much that she seems callous in the process. Perhaps the episode went into zany over-the-top humor for the purpose of weakening the effect of Amethyst's harsh and inconsiderate demeanor. Which, speaking of, the Pearl and Sapphire bawling scene didn't particularly work for me. It was just a little too slapdash, and I wasn't even sure what emotions I should have at this point. There's an amazing scene in the Korean monster movie The Host, where the family is grieving in a highly comical way, and there the contrast of it all manages to work phenomenally, but in this episode of Steven Universe, not so much. The setup to this episode just felt way too disorganized when it comes to the characters' emotions, and there was no semblance of an established mood. As a result of the goofy crying from Pearl and Sapphire, Steven and Amethyst go looking for Ruby and have a montage of searching around Beach City. After the weird tone killer that was this episode's setup, I was simply not in the mood for more of this sort of mundane fluff content, which retrospectively, this content definitely was pure padding to reach that 11-minute mark the episode needs. I was feeling pretty sour, but then we finally reach the real emotional core of the episode.
So, Pink Diamond, huh?
And from that point on, things just got better and better and better, and I went from being bummed out to extremely interested and invested. The awkward back and forth between Amethyst and Steven to get the conversation going was pretty great, and Steven begins to open up about his conflicted feelings on the whole matter. Amethyst tries her attempt at being a therapist from the other side of their horrendous pizza. And I'm not normally one to judge pizzas, but that shit looks pretty rank. And this is coming from somebody who abused deals where you can get cheap any-topping pizzas. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the reason Pizza Huts in my area stopped offering the $10 any-topping pizzas was because I literally asked for them to give me every single topping, except for anchovies and jalapenos.
This is just so much.
But that comment from Steven wasn't about the pizza, it was about his feelings, so let's get back to that. While Amethyst is trying to goad some specific emotions out of Steven, her reserved approach gives way to anger when Steven states what he feels the priority is.
I guess what really matters right now is how hard Garnet took it.
But what about you?
Amethyst is extremely frustrated that all this conflict from the past is being thrust upon Steven, and that a kind-hearted child is the one stuck with having to clean up the dirty legacy left by his mother, as well as go out of his way to make the other members of the Crystal Gems feel better about something Steven has no involvement in or control over in any way. Steven, meanwhile, erroneously presumes that Amethyst is taking the news about Rose Quartz hard and becomes far more worried about her state of mind. The dialogue the two were having was superbly written and acted out. The timing, the delivery, all of it gets my utmost praise. I loved it. In the middle of their conversation, Amethyst and Steven end up overhearing from Jenny that Greg and Ruby are on Brooding Hill. Quite a fitting name for a location, I guess, and Amethyst decides to do the rest of the Ruby mission solo.
Let me handle this, Steven. No more adults should be putting anything else on you. Just let someone else take care of it for once.
Amethyst, wait! There's someone else who needs help even more, and it's you!
Steven is a bit dense, but you can't really blame the lad. Throughout the series, Amethyst has often withdrawn, sidelined her feelings, created scapegoats to avoid a subject. It's understandable for Steven to think that Amethyst is struggling with her own feelings, rather than internalize that Amethyst is angry at the responsibility Steven has to bear and wishes he could enjoy a simpler life. Steven failing to understand why Amethyst is upset and thinking she needs help, of course, only makes her even more frustrated, as now Steven is trying to solve yet another person's problem, hers, even though he failed to grasp what the root of the problem was. There were some great gags while Steven is attempting to be the most assertive and hands-on emotional coach ever.
Get off my back, dude! Dude, you're literally inside my head!
After crash landing on the beach, Amethyst finally lets loose and gets through to Steven, and it's glorious. What a wonderful determination-fueled rant. You can really feel Amethyst's soul burn fiery hot, and it all culminates with an anime-styled finger point to the sky.
And I'm not gonna fall apart on you.
This cheers Steven up, and I loved how you could tell based off his expression just how much he appreciates the love and level of care Amethyst has for him. Amethyst, meanwhile, needs to plop down onto the sand to recharge from her emotional explosion.
Have you been trying to cheer me up this whole time?
Yes, jeez. Don't you know you deserve it? You great person.
You gotta adore how bashful Amethyst is. It's fantastic. That line of dialogue made the big smile I was sporting at the time even more gigantic. Steven states that Amethyst might just be the most mature member of the Crystal Gems, and while her development over the course of the series has been tremendous, I don't know if I would go that far, but I wouldn't go out of my way to correct Steven either. This uplifting episode ends with Amethyst and Steven flying over to Greg and Ruby, and what a ride it all was. As I said, I didn't care for the first half of What's Your Problem, but the second half was absolutely incredible, and represents why I watched Steven Universe in the first place. Back in Season 3, Amethyst and Steven shared a wonderful character arc that culminated in them fusing into Smoky Quartz, and What's Your Problem builds on all those developments and connections the two shared. The social link between Amethyst and Steven has never been stronger than now, and I absolutely adored watching the two goofs navigate through their feelings together. Thank you for watching this review. Check out my Patreon, Twitter, and Twitch accounts in the description if you're interested in any of that, and I hope to see you all next time.